Hi, my name is Eviatar Ram. I'm a product manager for CMX, and today we want to do a tutorial about how to use CMX Analytics and how to get value from it. So what we see here is that we are in the Analytics tab. You can see there are other high-level tabs, but we're in Analytics. And within Analytics, there are three major tabs, and we're in Dashboard. And that's the one we want to talk about today. So Dashboard is where we really represent and show all the data and all the metrics that we collect. And the way the dashboard is built up is by reports. So here on the left, you can see that there's a bunch of report names, and every report has different customizable information that you can set up. So for example, we are looking now at one of our default reports that comes with the system. It's called device count. And what we're seeing here is the information for building San Jose 14. That's our building. And I'm looking at data for this week. And the data that we're actually seeing is the device count. So I can say that this week we had 10,000 devices in the building. I can see how many of those devices were new and how many of them are devices that we've seen before, so repeat visitors basically. I can see how this week compares with last week and with the weekly average. And then I can also drill down and see how these different devices were spread out in the different floors. So the fourth floor had the most devices. We saw about 6,000 devices. And the second floor, we only saw 3,200 devices in that floor. So that's kind of a default report that comes with the system. But a lot of the power and a lot of the flexibility of the system comes from the ability to create custom reports. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'll click right here. And it gives me this little setup wizard where I can decide what information I want to see in my report. So first of all, I need to choose which zone or building I want to look at for this report. And I can choose a campus, a building, a floor, or anything from my hierarchy. And I'm going to choose a building. Right now, all the buildings are selected, but let me just select a single building. So I'm going to choose, again, building 14. Next thing is what time range I want for this report. So I can choose, for example, today. I can choose now if I want to see exactly what's happening now in my building. I could choose, last month, a custom date range, so any date range that I want. I'm going to do it, let's say, for last week. The other thing I can choose here is also how do I want to filter out the data? Do I want to look at devices that were seen throughout the day, or maybe I just want to look at the business hours, or only the morning hours? So it gives me that flexibility. I'm going to choose devices for all day. Now it's asking me what type of information I want to see. And there's three main categories of content that we have right now. It's the visitor count, how many devices were seen, and I'm going to choose one of those. And average dwell time, how long were devices seen for? I'm going to choose one of those. And crossover is another very interesting report that lets you see how devices are moving throughout a venue, and we'll talk about that in a later video. So I'm not going to choose that for now. Finally, it's asking me about dwell threshold, which is a really interesting filter. So this is basically set up right now to be between 5 minutes to 8 hours. What that means is that we're only going to look at data for devices that were seen for more than 5 minutes and less than 8 hours. So the use case for this, or the advantage of this, is that if there was maybe a car driving by and it was seen for less than 5 minutes, I'm going to ignore that. So it makes the data more accurate on this end. On the other end, the 8 hours, what we can do here is if, for example, I'm a retail environment and I don't want to count my employees in these reports because that's not the business value I'm trying to extract from the system, I could put a dwell time threshold that says any device that was seen for more than 6 hours, ignore. And assuming that any device that was longer for 6 hours is an employee, I can filter those out. Since we're looking at a corporate environment, I'm going to put a higher threshold, and I'm going to put it at 11 hours. And that's it. I click done. And now the system's going to the database and extracting that information. And I can see I have two squares. Every one of these squares is what we call a widget. And one of them is the visitor count, and one is the average dwell time. I'm seeing these two widgets because that's what I asked for here. I asked for one visitor count and one dwell time, and that's what I got. So I'm going to show you another report that we have set up here, and we'll call it a Building 14 report. And you can see that this one, it looks a little bit differently. It's got more charts and bars and all these circular things. Whereas if I go to this one, the view's a little bit different. So the view that you're seeing here, this is the default view. We call it the summary view. This gives you a high-level summary of what you're seeing. So we saw 12,000 devices, on average 4 hours and 52 minutes. In the next video, we'll kind of show you how you drill down and how you edit the widgets to get more flexibility into how you're displaying that information. One other thing we'd like to show you is that right now this report is called Untitled Report. That's the default name, and I can change that name. If I want to call this report Building 14 Monthly, I name it, I saved it, and now you can see the title here, and you can also see the title here on the left nav. So that was a tutorial about how to navigate through CMX Analytics and create reports, and there's going to be other tutorials that explain further functionality. Check them out as well. Thank you.